Have you ever felt like life has lost its color, like each day passes by in a dull gray haze? You wake up, go through the motions, and yet nothing sparks joy. What if the reason isn't outside you, but within, in the way you are living this very moment? Life often feels meaningless when we are trapped in the illusion of time, always clinging to the past or anxiously waiting for the future. Your mind constantly drifts through memories and worries, and in doing so, it disconnects you from the only place where life truly exists, the present moment. The secret is that life never loses its meaning. It is your attention that wanders away from what is real, causing emptiness. When you identify too strongly with your thoughts, roles, and stories, you allow an endless mental narrative to define your experience. You forget that these are only labels, and they are not the essence of who you are. By observing your mind without judgment, you create a space of awareness where meaning begins to emerge naturally. Acceptance is key. When you resist you fight the flow of life itself, and resistance breeds suffering. But when you allow yourself to be present with what is, even in discomfort, you tap into an inner well of stillness and clarity. It is in this stillness that joy and purpose quietly reappear. Meaning is not something to chase externally. It is not a trophy or a moment in the future. It arises when you live fully in awareness, paying attention to the small, often overlooked wonders of life, the sound of your breath, the warmth of sunlight, the feeling of being alive. Each present moment contains the potential for depth, for connection, for aliveness. So, if life feels meaningless lately, pause, observe your thoughts, step out of the mental chaos, and enter the present moment. In that simple, conscious presence, the layers of emptiness dissolve, and the world and your life regain their natural radiance. Life often feels meaningless when the mind becomes preoccupied with illusions of time, endlessly drifting between regrets of the past and anxieties about the future. Most people live in a state of constant anticipation or constant memory recall, believing that happiness or purpose lies in some distant moment rather than in the present. Yet the present moment is the only reality in which life actually exists. When you fail to notice this, life begins to feel flat, empty, and colorless, as though all vitality has drained away. The truth is not that life has lost its meaning, but that you have lost connection with it. Each moment carries the potential for meaning, yet it is only recognized when one stops chasing, striving, or resisting, and instead begins to observe, to notice, and to simply be. This emptiness that seems to pervade your experience is not caused by your circumstances, your relationships, or your achievements. It is caused by your attention being elsewhere, trapped in thought, absorbed in the narratives you tell yourself about who you are, what you have done, or what you should become. The mind has a habit of identifying with these narratives, making them appear real and urgent, and in doing so, it convinces you that life is happening somewhere else, somewhere you are not. Every moment that you miss because your attention is lost in thought is a moment of life unnoticed, a moment in which joy could have emerged, a moment in which a subtle sense of aliveness could have been felt. The incessant chatter of the mind becomes a veil that obscures the simplicity and depth of existence itself. When you are caught in this mental activity, even beauty, love, or pleasure can feel muted because these experiences require presence. The colors of a sunset, the sound of laughter, the warmth of human connection, the sensation of your own body breathing, all of these are easily overlooked when the mind is preoccupied with stories, judgments, and expectations. Meaning does not exist in achieving something externally. It exists in the depth of awareness, in the conscious experience of life as it unfolds, unfiltered by thought. People often mistake activity for purpose, believing that the busier they are, the more fulfilled they must feel. But activity alone cannot provide the stillness required for the emergence of meaning. Even accomplishments can feel hollow if they are not grounded in conscious presence. It is not a question of changing your life circumstances, of acquiring more, or of avoiding challenges. It is a question of changing your relationship to the present moment by learning to observe your thoughts without becoming them, by noticing when the mind drifts into past regrets or future worries. You create a space of awareness in which life can speak to you directly. In this space, meaning is not something you search for or manufacture. It is something that arises naturally, effortlessly, because it is always there waiting for your attention. Stillness is not emptiness. It is the fertile ground from which insight, joy, and purpose naturally grow. When you stop resisting life and allow yourself to experience it fully, you may notice that even simple, ordinary moments carry profound significance. The taste of a meal, the sound of rain, the touch of a loved one, the rhythm of your own breath. These are not trivial. They are expressions of life itself, moments in which existence reveals its beauty and depth. Life may feel meaningless when you are lost in the stories of the mind, but when you return to the present, when you anchor yourself in conscious awareness, meaning is always restored. It is not distant or rare. It is not something to grasp. It is the quiet, underlying truth of every moment you live. By cultivating awareness, by observing without judgment, by accepting what is rather than resisting, you gradually dissolve the fog of emptiness. The sense of meaninglessness fades, not because life has changed, but because your perception has shifted. Life has never been meaningless. It is only the mind's distraction that creates this illusion. Each breath, each sensation, each experience is an invitation to awaken to the depth and richness of the now. This is the secret that so many overlook. Meaning is not a destination, and joy is not a reward for achievement. They are the natural byproducts of conscious presence. When you realize this, you begin to live not in pursuit of life, but in harmony with it, and the dullness of existence transforms into vibrancy, clarity, and profound satisfaction. The sense of emptiness and meaninglessness often persists because people unconsciously allow their identity to be defined by external circumstances and achievements and the perceptions of others rather than by the essence of their own being. When life is measured solely by success, recognition, material accumulation, or social validation, the mind becomes a constant seeker, perpetually dissatisfied, because these things are transient and cannot provide lasting fulfillment. This attachment to external outcomes creates a subtle but persistent tension within, a feeling that no matter what you do, it will never be enough, and this tension manifests as a pervasive emptiness. True meaning, however, is not found in external validation or accomplishments, but in the conscious experience of life itself, in the awareness that observes thought, sensation, and emotion without becoming entangled in them. When you are able to witness your own mental and emotional activity as a neutral observer, you discover that the stories the mind tells about success, failure, or inadequacy are not who you are. They are simply passing phenomena within consciousness. The moment you realize this, a profound sense of freedom arises, because life is no longer filtered through the lens of relentless comparison or judgment. The ordinary world, once perceived as dull or unfulfilling, begins to reveal layers of depth and richness that were previously obscured by distraction and identification. People often overlook the subtle gifts of existence, the gentle rhythm of breathing, the soft light of the morning, the sensation of the body moving, because the mind is preoccupied with what it lacks or with what it imagines the future should bring. These overlooked moments are not insignificant. They are the building blocks of a meaningful life, accessible only when attention is grounded in the present. Acceptance plays a central role in this transformation. By accepting life as it is, without resistance, judgment, or constant desire for it to be different, a person discovers that fulfillment is not something to be pursued, but something that naturally arises when tension and striving are released. Resistance, on the other hand, binds energy and creates suffering. It is this unconscious struggle against reality that amplifies feelings of emptiness, whereas allowing life to flow moment by moment restores a natural sense of purpose and alignment. Another reason life can feel meaningless is the constant identification with thought patterns that replay old stories, worries, and fears. The mind is a powerful instrument, yet when left unchecked, it constructs a world of imagined threats, regrets, and desires that overshadow the reality of now. By practicing observation of thoughts without attachment or reaction, that the space between thought and awareness grows, and in this space, clarity, insight, and meaning naturally emerge. Many people confuse being busy with being fulfilled, filling their days with tasks, distractions, and obligations in the hope of finding satisfaction. Yet activity alone cannot generate a sense of purpose. True fulfillment is cultivated internally, through conscious presence, not externally through achievement or accumulation. It is in the moments when attention rests fully in the present. listening deeply, sensing fully, observing calmly, that life communicates its intrinsic meaning. The pursuit of meaning outside oneself is inherently limited because it depends on variables beyond one's control, whereas presence offers a direct, unmediated experience of life's richness. By consistently returning attention to the now, even in small moments, a person gradually reconnects with the inherent significance of existence, dissolving the illusion that life is hollow. In doing so, one also begins to notice the interconnection between all things, the subtle relationships and patterns that imbue each day with depth. What once seemed repetitive or mundane transforms into a landscape of subtle miracles where meaning is woven into every interaction, every sensation, and every act of awareness. This realization does not come through force or effort, but through patience, observation, and a gentle letting go of identification with thought. Life begins to feel expansive rather than restricted, vibrant rather than dull, and filled with an almost effortless sense of purpose. Emptiness and meaninglessness fade because they were never inherent, or they were projections of an attention that was lost in time and thought. When the mind rests in awareness, the natural aliveness of existence is perceived, and meaning, joy, and fulfillment arise spontaneously. This is the path back to a life that feels whole, real, and deeply satisfying. A life grounded not in external conditions, but in the ever-present reality of conscious living, where each moment becomes an opportunity to experience the depth and richness of being alive. The final reason life can feel meaningless is because most people live unconsciously, moving through each day in a state of autopilot, reacting to stimuli rather than responding with awareness. When actions, thoughts, and emotions are driven by habit, expectation, or social conditioning, life becomes mechanical and repetitive, leaving little room for genuine connection, creativity, or insight. In such a state, experiences lose their vibrancy, and even the most beautiful moments are filtered through a dull, distracted consciousness. The remedy is not to change the external circumstances of life, nor to chase more excitement, recognition, or material comfort, but to cultivate conscious presence in everything one does. Awareness is the key that unlocks the richness and meaning of life, because it allows one to perceive what has always been there, but was previously overlooked. Each task, each encounter, each breath contains a depth that can only be accessed when the mind stops resisting the now. The ordinary transforms into the extraordinary when attention is fully given, and even small, simple activities reveal layers of significance that are easily missed when the mind is elsewhere. This is why stillness and mindfulness are essential practices. In stillness, the ceaseless chatter of the mind quiets, and the background noise of thought no longer dominates experience. In this space, the essence of life becomes tangible, and the sense of emptiness gradually dissolves. It is here that joy, fulfillment, and meaning are not pursued as goals, but are naturally perceived as inherent qualities of existence. People often underestimate the transformative power of simply being present. They believe that meaning must be constructed, earned, or discovered externally, yet it is available in every moment when one is fully conscious by observing the rhythm of life, noticing patterns, and connecting with the subtleties of existence. One begins to see that each moment carries value, each experience contributes to growth, and each encounter has potential for insight. Another obstacle to perceiving meaning is the constant identification with suffering, disappointment, or fear. The mind tends to amplify negativity, replay old grievances, and anticipate future problems, creating a sense that life is lacking or incomplete. By becoming aware of this tendency and consciously observing it without judgment, a person can break free from the cycle and reclaim their natural aliveness. The present moment becomes the anchor, and life ceases to feel like a series of challenges to overcome or goals to achieve. Instead, it becomes a continuous flow of experience rich with sensory, emotional, and intellectual engagement. Even pain or discomfort, when experienced consciously, carries lessons and insight, revealing aspects of life that are often hidden in distraction or denial. Awareness transforms the perception of difficulty into an opportunity for growth and a deeper understanding of self and existence. This shift does not require the acquisition of new knowledge, but rather a willingness to notice what is already present and to relinquish attachment to thought-based narratives about who we are, what we lack, or what life should be. By doing so, a profound sense of clarity and meaning emerges, not as a forced achievement, but as a natural consequence of living consciously. Life, in all its complexity and unpredictability, is revealed as inherently rich, vibrant, and purposeful, and the previously perceived emptiness disappears because it was never real. It was a byproduct of unconscious living. The act of returning to presence transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary and the mundane into the meaningful. Awareness allows one to participate fully in life rather than merely observing it from a distance through the lens of thought, judgment, or expectation. Ultimately, the secret to overcoming the sense of meaninglessness lies in the understanding that fulfillment is not found outside, nor is it a reward for attaining certain conditions. It is found in the conscious experience of life itself, in the continuous observation of thought and sensation, in the acceptance of what is, and in the subtle yet profound connection to the present moment. When life is lived in this way, each instant becomes an opportunity to awaken to its depth, beauty, and significance. The feeling of emptiness fades, replaced by a quiet, abiding sense of purpose that does not need validation or explanation. In the ever-present now, life itself reveals that it has always been meaningful, vibrant, and filled with potential for joy, the understanding and growth. Conscious living transforms every action, thought, and sensation into an expression of this inherent meaning, allowing a person to move through the world with clarity, presence, and fulfillment, fully awake to the extraordinary depth of what was once perceived as ordinary or meaningless.